artist, organization is not exactly a strength of mine. Then again, neither is humor. I'm no neat freak, nor do I like working to a fixed schedule. Creativity and inspiration strike at inconvenient times, meaning not many artists have routines they stick to, and anytime they try... Yep, that's another thing to add to the things I'm bad at on the list. Seriously though, I sometimes find myself worrying about gaining balance and order in my life to channel my creativity in a more efficient way, especially when I have deadlines to meet. Art tends to go over the heads of people who favour order and see beauty as a byproduct of efficiency instead of it being of value, and that's okay. Personally, I think our individuality and curiosity is stifled when we try to be too organised, as is shown brilliantly in the Recess episode Tucked in Mikey. Best segue ever, am I right? Here's a show that needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give it one anyway. Recess aired on Toon Disney in the 90s and was a show that was recognised for its brilliance by many. It portrayed children as not only functioning members of society, but individuals already equipped with the skills needed to create their own society within the playground, complete with government and class structure set against the backdrop of a regular American school. Being a slice-of-life show dealing with everyday issues and struggles of everyday life, taking small, simple scenarios and treating them with the seriousness of a James Bond film or prison drama, it was satirical, but delivered in a respectful way that didn't sugarcoat or dumb anything down. Yeah, they don't make them like this anymore. Recess, or as we Brits call it, break, is illustrated to be a symbol of freedom, a time when children can express themselves and develop meaningful relationships. Most episodes of the show involve one or more of the main 6 characters seeking a rational balance between individuality and social order. They are often defending their freedom against perceived threats by adults and school administration or social norms. In a similar setup to shows like Friendship is Magic, each of the main 6 characters represents different personalities and archetypes. TJ is the popular and confident leader, Vince is the athlete, Spinelli is the tough shorty, Mikey is the gentle giant, Gretchen is the genius, and Gus is the shy, quiet one. Each character has their own weaknesses and quirks which are given attention throughout the series. Out of all the characters, Mikey seems to me to be the one the show takes the most liberties with, Gretchen being a very close second, giving him a singing voice deliberately and laughably different from his usual voice, as well as an appetite that is sadly a character trait because he's the token fat kid. Mikey is perhaps arguably most in touch with his spiritual side, appreciating the beauty of the world around him to the point where he takes poor care of his appearance. Most creative people prefer spontaneity to scheduled time of reflection, and as a result end up living in a chaotic mess, or appear disheveled or alternative to the norm, hence why some of us have blue hair and tattoos. Mikey is perhaps an exaggeration of this stereotype, but it works here because this is, after all, satire, and to get certain lessons and morals across, some things have to be borderline fantastical to avoid the show becoming sterile or be just like every other show set in a school. Episodes like Tucked in Mikey that deal with when a character tries to fix a weakness in favour of improving his strengths and gaining balance in his life often show what can happen when a character is thrown off balance in favour to teach a valuable lesson without there being a villain in the story. The episode begins with Mikey reciting a poem in front of his class, and as cheesy as his poem is, trust me on this if you haven't watched this episode yet, the other kids love hearing his poems because this is his passion and it shows in his delivery. When Mikey is promised a reward for his creative endeavours, he is given just a few days to compile his life's work and present a poem in front of his entire school before he can receive a medal. Considering it a great honour, but a daunting task, Mikey seeks out the help of Menlo, a student who is obsessed with organisation and timekeeping. He agrees to help Mikey organise his appearance and his schedule in order to give him time to focus on his creative writing in the lead up to receiving his medal. But Menlo goes overboard with his scheduling and timekeeping to the point that Mikey's spontaneous creativity is sucked out of him. Was this because someone who is more in touch with their spiritual side tends to also be more sensitive and therefore easily manipulated? Or was Mikey genuinely impressed with Menlo's organisation and timekeeping, that he was envious of his productivity and efficiency. Well, perhaps it was a mixture of both. But what makes Recess successful is that characters like Menlo, who keep themselves segregated from the rest of the pupils, does so not in malice, but because of social anxiety, a superiority complex, and heightened intellect. Problem solving isn't his forte, but organisation and timekeeping is. Mikey is so locked into autopilot that he is following his schedule precisely without being flexible in the slightest. This to me is something most artists actually find easy to be because of their spontaneity. Remove the flexibility or make their schedule too rigid, what they produce either tends to be lifeless or a clone of something they themselves have already done or something someone else in their circle of influence has done. Mikey's friends have written in his schedule to rip up the paper his terrible lifeless poem is in, shocking him into spontaneous poetry that comes from the heart, all improvised in front of his entire school. Now, some of you might think that his friends went too far and maybe publicly humiliated him, but I guess that was a risk they were willing to make. He realizes his error in judgment and that he had replaced his emotions with efficiency. What I love about this episode is that it didn't paint characters like Menlo, who are all about organisation and efficiency, in a bad light. In fact, TJ says that organisation rocks, but too much of it can block any kind of spontaneous expression. It was also really nice to see that Menlo himself actually loosened up a little bit at the end while playing his lute. As the show goes, this one is one of my favourites in its writing and how much respect and realism it gives to both expression and efficiency, and that having a balance of the two is important. It's something I am still working on, and I hope that my productivity improves as I work hard on these videos, while also giving you guys content you find insightful, informative and entertaining. At least I hope it is. Check this show out if you haven't already, guys. It's pretty awesome. I'm Mad Munchkin. Stay creative.